Hey there, TaxBots. I'm Justin Spicer from Legal Aid of South Central. Excuse me. I'm Justin Spicer from Legal Aid of Southeast and Central Ohio, and I'm here with Megan Sullivan and Luke Minek, attorneys with our Low Income Taxpayer Clinic. Today, we're continuing our self-employment series, talking about estimated tax payments. Feel free to leave a comment or a question below, and we'll answer whatever we can. So, Luke, estimated tax payments is something many people have questions about or may not even be familiar with. Before we dive in, can you give us a brief introduction to today's topic?
Definitely. So normally people pay their income tax when they get their paycheck. So your federal tax is withheld or automatically taken from your paycheck by your employer and paid to the federal government. And so when you file your tax return the next year, if you withheld more tax than you owed, you'll get a refund. But if you don't withhold enough, then you owe the IRS at tax time. Estimated taxes, on the other hand, is how people pay tax on income that isn't subject to withholdings. And this normally happens with self-employed and taxpayers who don't receive a paycheck. Estimated tax is used to pay both the income tax and self-employment tax.
So, Megan, how do I know if I need to make estimated tax payments?
You may need to make estimated tax payments in three situations. If you have self-employment income, will not pay the tax through other wages that you earn, like a second job that has withholding, and you expect to owe more than $1,000 when you file your federal tax return.
So, Luke, how will I know if I expect to owe more than $1,000 when I file my tax return?
So let's look at a taxpayer, and we'll look at 2025, this upcoming tax year. So taxpayer has $10,000 in gross income for January, February, and March of 2025. That would be their income in quarter one, as they call it. And there's 4 quarters in a year, every 3 months. The taxpayer's expenses for that quarter was $2,000. So to figure out their net income for that first quarter, you would take the gross income of $10,000 minus their expenses of $2,000, and that would get their net income of $8,000. To figure out what you'd have then for the year, you would take your $8,000 that you estimated for quarter one, times that by the 4 quarters that you'd have in the year, and that would equal $32,000. With that estimated net income of $32,000, you next then need to multiply that by the self-employment tax rate, which is 15.3%. So in this case, if you multiply that $32,000 by 15.3%, you come out to $4,896. And that represents the amount of self-employment tax that you'd owe for all of 2025. Now, as we talked about quarters previously, that's how you pay your self-employment or your estimated tax, as Megan will talk about. So in this case, since you had $4,000, $4,896 you'd owe for the year, you take that and you divide it by those 4 quarters. So each quarter you would owe $1,224 in estimated tax payments. And in this example, you would owe those estimated tax payments because it's more than $1,000, as Megan just mentioned.
So, Megan, when do I make these federal estimated tax payments?
Well, the IRS expects you to make these payments quarterly or 4 times a year by the deadline. And we'll talk about the deadlines in just a moment. If you miss one of the deadlines, make your quarterly tax payment as soon as you can. Because once a due date is passed, the IRS will usually charge a 0.5% penalty of the entire amount that you owe, not just the missed payment. For the 2025 filing season, which will be filed in 2026, estimated tax payments will be due on April 15th, 2025, June 17th, 2025, September 16th, 2025, and January 15th, 2026.
Luke, how should I make those payments?
So once you make your estimated tax payments, you can either do it one online using direct pay, and you can go to https semicolon backslash directpay.irs.gov. You can call the IRS, so that's the second option, And that's the phone number there. And you can also mail in an estimated payment voucher. You're likely going to send that if you're here in Ohio to the processing center in Ogden, Utah. However, you can go to irs.gov and search where to file tax returns to make sure you have the right address.
Megan, what if I don't make estimated tax payments during the year?
Unless you have other withholding or credits that decrease or increase the tax that you owe, you'll have to pay the tax when you file the return, and you may have to pay a penalty for paying that late. If you didn't know about this requirement before, just start following it now to avoid further penalties.
Great. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Megan and Luke for the great information. And join us next time on December 6th when we talk about Form 1099-K. And remember, this segment and all the others in our Tax Chat series are available on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.